What's up, everybody? This is Quet, and today we're going to be going over the for each method in JavaScript. The for each method is an array method that can kind of be used to replace a for loop. Essentially, what for each does is it iterates over every index in an array, and it performs an action on those indexes, and then it mutates the original array you have. So it pretty much takes in a callback function, and whatever the callback function tells it to do, it performs that action on the array, and it mutates the array that you're calling the method on. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how to do that and how you can replace the for loop with by doing so. Um, so let's get started. I have a example here. Um, why don't we start with the for loop and how a for loop works, right? So let's say we have an array, and that array is called numbers. So const numbers equals, and let's say it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So with a for loop, we're gonna say we're gonna create I, we're gonna set that equal to 0. As long as I is less than numbers that length, we're gonna continue running the for loop, and then we're going to increment I by 1. So here we're just going to console log all of the indexes inside of numbers. So if we console log numbers I and save that, what we should expect is to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have this index.js file open. I'm going to go to the console here, take a look, and kind of get a sneak peek of some stuff I was already working on, but whatever. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. It's console log. That's great. That's exactly as we expect. So I'm gonna go ahead and comment this out, and I'm gonna do this using for each. So to use it, kind of just call the array that we created numbers. You call this for each method here. And then what you do is say for every index inside of for each, this is what this I is going to stand for. It can literally be anything. We're using I for this example. So for every index in for each, console log I. So what this is going to do, you're going to have to kind of read it this way, or this is would help me understand it. I'm looking at it, I'm saying for each index inside of numbers, we're going to console log that index. So we should still expect to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's saved. I'm going to refresh the page, and we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So we know we're good to go. So that's great. I mean, you kind of look at it, you see the for loop is 3 lines of code. This for each is actually running on 1 line of code because we're calling the for each method. We're using it's not an arrow function, but we're using this fat arrow, whatever people like to call it. This arrow is an explicit return, and we're saying for each index return this. So we can do this all on 1 line of code. It's pretty cool. So and you can see how this could get more complex at some time, and we can just use 1 line of code and kind of, instead of having 3, 4, 5 lines in a for loop, we can just say I'm just gonna write 1 line of code here and get it out the way. So now let's get into a little fun with it. So I'm gonna create a array. I'm gonna call it characters. And since it's Christmas time, we're just gonna use a couple Christmas characters here. We're gonna use Santa. We're gonna use Buddy the Elf. We're gonna use Rudolph. Frosty the Snowman. The Grinch. And my daughter's a big fan of the Grinch, and so we're also going to use Cindy Lou Who. So we have these Christmas characters from their TV shows and movies, and so we have all of them as a string inside of an array called characters. So if I want to console log all of these characters, we pretty much do the same thing that we've done on line 7. So we're going to use characters for each character console log character. So again, like I said, this variable can be whatever you call it. Just make sure it's consistent throughout your for each. So above I used I, and this one I used character. So if we refresh our page here, there we go. We log Santa, Buddy, Rudolph, Frost, supposed to be Frosty, Grinch, and Cindy Lou. So we have that console login. So let's say we want to do something more to this. We want to say, I don't know. We want to say that all of them are great characters, right? So we want to do something like that. I'm kind of doing some of this off the top a little bit. I think I was doing they were great before. I didn't quite write it down. So, um, yeah, sorry. I'm kind of trying to get as many videos done as I can right now. So I'm kind of rushing through and doing like a little bit of notes to prepare for this. So we're gonna again do characters for each. I'm just gonna copy this here to speed this up a little bit. And so what we want to do is we want to console log every character. Um, we want to add is great at the end. So I'm just going to use C here as my variable just to show it can be any variable that you want to use. So we're going to console log we're going to use a ternary operator here, and we're going to console log $ here to grab access to C, or so the C variable is going to hold the index inside of character, and so to access that inside the ternary operator, we need to return that variable C. To represent Santa, Buddy, Rudolph, all of them. If you've seen any of my videos talking about ternary operators, that's essentially how they work. You write a ternary operator, you don't have to concatenate and put plus signs in between everything. And any JavaScript that you want to put out, you have to use the $ and wrap it inside of these angled brackets or whatever you want to call them. So now we have that, and we want to say is great, right? So we should be able to save that now, and if we refresh, there we go. We have at the end of every character, we have the statement is great. So cool. We've seen how to console log characters. We've seen how to add things to them, and that's pretty much how for each works. Now, for each does manipulate the original array that it was working with when you work with it, and it does not have a return feature. Okay, so I pulled up this Codeburst article that I'll put a link to in the description for this video and the video that I'm going to do on map. It explains the difference between the two, and it talks about how for each does not have a return statement. As you can see here, return from for each function as the return values are. You would never return from a for each function as the return values are simply discarded, and it gives a pretty good example here. So if we look, we have this array here that says 1 2 3 4 5, the same exact thing we have actually. So it's going to look for each index inside of an array. It's going to take that number. This is representing what I've done earlier, just having one value. This is saying, hey, for each index, right? So this could be any variable you want. This index is representing the index inside of the array. So we're starting at 0, going to 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this case. And so we're saying return array index 0, and that's going to be that that index times 2. And it's going to do that every single time. So this is literally going to iterate over that index and look at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's going to say multiply all of that by 2, and you're going to get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. However, it's not going to quite return. So if I copy this, I'm not going to take the semicolons because I hate semicolons when I'm coding in JavaScript. Coding in general. So yeah, we're gonna clear this out, and we're gonna have R. We have to actually declare that first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you look here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna copy and paste this code, and boom. When we hit that, it's gonna say undefined. Like it's just discarded. It's out of here. We don't return when using for each. Like just get out of here. That's pretty much what this is telling you. However, the value of R has changed. So if we type in R, it's going to be 246,810. So it did exactly this. All of this multiplied by 2, but as I stated, the return statement in for each does not actually return anything. As the article stated, it doesn't return anything. But when using for each, it's when you're trying to return, when you're running it like this, it's going to mutate the value of the original array. So that may or may not be something that you want to do. You should always keep that in consideration. With the examples that I showed you earlier, it didn't mutate the actual value of the array. It just returned, well, we were just counter logging. So it was counter logging data from that original array. But keep in mind that if you are trying to return something using for each, it doesn't actually return, and it's going to mutate the original value of the array, which may not be what you want to do. And that's kind of when map is going to come in handy. So you should expect my next video, or one of my next videos, probably next video, is going to be going over the map feature and how that works. Works very similar to for each, but I'm going to separate them out just so you can kind of see them, go at your own pace, maybe practice for each a little bit, and then go to the map video and practice map, see the differences. Like I said, this article will be in the description of, of both of those videos. So that's it for this video. If you haven't already, I have to ask, please subscribe to the channel. I'll definitely be having a lot of content coming through. I've said before, there's going to be at least 3 to 5 videos every week coming to you all. Hopefully this is really helping you learn and go further in your coding journey. I have a lot of big ideas coming for the channel. And you'll also be able to just see me just code and learn as well. So it's not going to be me teaching all of the time, just explicitly sitting here teaching. There'll be videos where I'm learning and I'm teaching you what I'm learning and just kind of figuring things out at the same time. So definitely look forward to more content in the future. And like I said, if you're interested in that, please subscribe. There's also a bell icon near the top somewhere of this video that you can get notifications whenever I create a new video, whenever I put a new video out. You can also follow me on Twitter. I will be following up every time I put a new video out, letting you know that, hey, this video is out. Go ahead and check it out. And if this video helped you anywhere, go ahead and like it. These methods are really cool. These higher order functions, they're really great. They can make your code a lot neater, a lot cleaner, and they're really powerful. So we're going to be going over those in the next few days. So yeah, if you have any comments, go ahead and leave that in the comment section, or you can tweet me at QuickCodesFire. Thanks for watching.